question. How should a small, mid-sized business think about effectively using a consulting service to come in? Yeah.
The first thing I think in my mind is I would be abundantly clear on what you want, you, the client. Why are you asking them for the help? What thing do you want? And then, of course, you would say this too, what outcomes do you want? And the outcome doesn't have to be a business thing necessarily. It could be, it could be just, I need some sense of direction to go in. Although the more you can make it real and tangible, obviously, the better you can hold yourself and the consultant accountable. The second thing I'd say, which I think is really critical, and this doesn't matter, small consulting or big consulting, do you click with the person? Do you like them? I mean, you have to like them, but you got to click. Do you feel a relationship? I mean, we won more work versus the other guys, not because we were better, because we're all pretty damn good. I thought we were better, but I felt like I clicked with you and I knew you guys heard what I was saying. You were listening to me. You got in my head. That's the other thing I would say is, make sure you have a damn good listener as your consultant, not someone who wants to tell you what to do. I mean, the hardest thing is to know what's in the head of the CEO or the founder or whatever it be. And so many people think they know the answer and they may not know the question that's on the leader's mind. So that's, there's a couple of things. Be really clear on what you want, as tangible as you can make it, and hold them accountable, and make damn sure you have relationship. You feel close, you feel like they are the people you want there because you like them, you trust them, you work with them, whatever you want to use the word. The other thing I'd say is too often people hire consultants, then they just say, okay, go do the work, blah, blah, blah. And, typically you're spending a lot of money, whether it's McKinsey rates or BCG rates, or it doesn't matter. It's relatively a lot of money. So you need to own it yourself too. If they say we should have steering committee meetings, have the damn steering committee meeting. Don't miss every other one. I mean, that's not your fault. Sorry, a little lecturing here, but you got to be in the game too. I used to, I used to say to sometimes the client would call and say, well, one of my partners said, this guy wants us to do some work for him. They want a deep discount. I said, nope, either full price or you go, there's a client who wanted to break into, you go free. He said, well, free. I said, well, if they pay you even $10, all of a sudden it's your responsibility. They can do it, $10, they don't care. But free, they just invited you to walk around their place for nothing. They must have something they think that, it's of use to them. Or of course, pay the full price. I think the client's got to be involved. I find too often the client hires a team, steps away, thinks it's a consultant's problem. And that's not the truth. It's still your business.
Yeah, be clear about what the outcomes you want to be. Click with them so we work well together. Totally get that. And that third point, I think, is maybe one of the most important reasons they fail. Like I'll always manage with any consultant that I work with, manage critical milestones, and it's not so much, they're not doing their job, I'm catching them, you need to come on, get your act together. It's more, they don't know my business nearly as well as I do. And so I like what you said there. They have to own it, and almost like they're another team that's on board, and how long it take to get them up to speed on their business.
But you have to own it with them is the point you just said too. If you don't show up for those meetings and you blame them, well, what? Wait a minute. Anyway, you and I can forever on that question.
Getting your team's heads around somebody's business, like really understanding somebody else's business, their business model, all of that. I guess that's the listening part that you were talking about.
Yeah. That, and just, you don't, well, I'll tell you the story. Once I had a client, I knew the CEO well. He's been a client at a previous company or at a new company, and his team was presenting to him, and the head of supply chain was presenting it, and he was going down a path. And the CEO asked a question that went that way in his path. He looked over, I don't know if he even said anything. Well, I'll get to that later. I went back to his presentation, and you could see the CEO's eyes glaze over. He didn't listen anymore. So he thought, wait a minute, you didn't spend 1 nanosecond to say, oh, sir, I'm thinking this way. That question comes over here. What is it on your mind that I might be able, he didn't even take the time to stop and ask, what is on your mind that you may need to know right now? And, most business leaders, the minute they see that kind of behavior, they shut down. So that's why you want to make sure your your consultant, if the advisor or support person is actually trying to understand what's in your head.
Yeah.
You got to tell them too. You got to tell them, that's on you.
Yeah, I'll never personally let my eyes glaze over. I won't get off that point until we have alignment, because I don't want to waste anybody's time, especially mine.
Yeah, right.
And I've heard you say, listening to some of your interviews, getting ready for this, people notice in a nanosecond when the motivation isn't right, going through, and or they're not listening, they don't get it. It's like we instantly can feel that we're not really coming together. And so kind of getting started to get into your book, first, what is generous leadership, and at a high level, and what caused you to want to write this book? It's super powerful, by the way. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Lee. So I define generous leadership as really a generous leader is someone who gives of themselves freely without expectation of direct personal benefit to help others grow, develop, and thrive at their full potential. So it's really about ensuring your team is humming and helping them get there. It's not about paying more. That's nice if you want to. That's a different topic. It's not about just being nice. You can do what I said and give the toughest feedback in the world in a tough way. But if the person grows and develops, you just did them a favor. It's also very importantly, it still requires getting outcomes. A client of mine said, Joe said, as a leader, of course, outcomes matter. He didn't say, but if you don't get your results, you're not going to be in the role anymore, right? Or eventually. He said, but the sooner the leader moves past themselves and unlocks all the capabilities, all the human capabilities of the team, the sooner they'll get to the best outcome. I thought was really, so that's really what it is to me, is ensuring your others, the people with whom you team. I once said your team, and someone said, well, Joe, it's not your team. Okay. The folks with whom you're teaming, with whom you're leading, I will be careful with my words, they are humming. And it's obvious. If they're all humming, you're going to get good results as a team, as an organization, and you will benefit. Duh. But the minute they think, oh, he or she is doing it just for themselves, to your point earlier, they kind of smell that and say, wait a minute, what's the deal here? Is this about, all of us growing, the team growing, me growing, or is this about him or her, or just the organization?
Yeah, or hidden agenda, something along those lines.
Yeah, they always wonder. Now, why did I write it? I guess, a couple things. I mean, after going through COVID, two of my colleagues said, you should write a book about leadership, and, some of what you did. I actually, when I stepped out of the regional chair role, I wrote 38,000 words, and very quickly, you need about 50,000 words for a book. You and I talked about 200 pages, and sent it off to, and it wasn't organized, it just, and I sent it off to Harvard Press, which the beauty of being part of BCG, they'll at least pick up the phone, But the editor there said, oh, I skimmed it, or I read it, and it's very good. And I was crying at times, but it's all about COVID. And she said, no go. She goes, by the time we publish a book, which is a couple years, no one will want to read about COVID. And also then I had some other friends say, it's too much about your leadership. So then, as you read in the book, I actually interviewed a bunch of BCG clients who I thought fit my definition of a leader. And some of what they said made them, they thought made them hum and be most successful. So the why was people recommended. And as I said at the very beginning, I thought, okay, if I can move even a handful of people to leverage some of these traits, I think it'll make a difference. So it's the effort.